Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. Like I said, I'm rolling out videos for 2020 and for previewing the new F1 season that's coming in March, and obviously we've got testing next month as well, so a lot of videos coming out, and I'm really enjoying doing videos at the start of this year, and I'm really looking forward to the F1 season starting. But I thought I'd go over a few points. We've obviously got some news that is now rolling through. You know, we've obviously got testing dates, we've got cars unveiling and dates for them as well. We've got news coming out of new deals for new drivers. So I just thought I'd do a video and go through my thoughts through some of the news headlines that's come out of the last couple of months, really. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first news that I'm going to talk about is deals for drivers. Now, of course, in December, just around Christmas time, it was announced that Charles Leclerc would have a new deal at Ferrari. Racing until 2024 with the Scuderia team. Obviously, no brainer for Ferrari. Did amazing last year for them. You know, beat his teammate, four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. He won the Italian Grand Prix in front of the Ferrari fans. You know, the biggest race for Ferrari in the F1 season, and he won it for them in front of the crowd. So for me, it was a no-brainer that Ferrari would hand Leclerc a new deal, and obviously he is the future of Ferrari at this point. You know, Sebastian Vettel is, you know, I wouldn't say he's getting old, but for a driver, he is reaching that latter stages of his racing career in Formula One, and Charles Leclerc is sort of just starting out, really. You know, one full season with the team, he's already excelled. And, you know, he's been given this deal to last another 4 seasons. So for me, like I said, it was a no-brainer for Ferrari to do this. And, you know, it is great to see, you know, the youngsters like Charles Leclerc, you know, getting their chance in a big team. And obviously he's proved that he can do it. So, you know, hopefully with Ferrari, you know, giving him a good car this season, him and Sebastian Vettel can, you know, fight for the championship. That's what we want. You know, I want competition between drivers. You know, I want as many drivers fighting for the championship as possible, and as many teams for the constructors' championship. So if Leclerc and Vettel can get there, if Ferrari give him the car and give them the car, then, you know, fantastic. So hopefully, we see more race wins from Charles Leclerc this season. But for me, like I said, in terms of his deal, it was a no-brainer for Ferrari. The other one is Max Verstappen. Now, this was announced, I'd say a couple of weeks ago now, and I don't want to say it surprised me, but I thought, you know, the next move for Max Verstappen would maybe moving away. You know, Valtteri Bottas only has a deal left on his Mercedes contract. You know, there's so much sort of wandering around. Could have Verstappen gone to Ferrari alongside Leclerc? That would have been interesting. But surprisingly for me, he signed a new deal with Red Bull, and, you know, when he signed it, he said he wanted to win the Drivers' Championship with Red Bull and with Honda, and he sort of, after having this season with Honda, he's been pleasantly surprised. You know, obviously they've won races. You know, Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly were on the podium in Brazil, you know, 2 Honda cars. So I think Max Verstappen's been very impressed with Honda in the 2019 season, and he signed a deal to continue with that relationship. He said he wants to win with both teams, both Red Bull and Honda. And I like I said, I was a little bit surprised with it. I thought, you know, the deal wouldn't sort of happen, and if it did, you know, it would be a lesser in terms of years. But, you know, he's obviously committed to driving for Red Bull. He obviously feels Red Bull are going to give him a good enough car. Honda's going to give him a good enough power unit for this year. So again, like I said earlier, in terms of more drivers and more teams fighting for the actual championship, if Max Verstappen believes Red Bull and Honda are going to be there. If obviously he's saying he wants to win the championship with him, you know, he wouldn't sign the deal if he didn't think that they were going to give him a decent enough car. So, you know, it's looking good. If Max Verstappen's willing to sign a deal to stay at the team, hopefully we're going to see a really good car from Red Bull this season. So yeah, in terms of them deals for Leclerc and Verstappen, 2 young drivers in two of the top three in terms of best teams. It's looking good for the sport if they can keep these youngsters happy and fighting. And I'd love to see both of them fighting for the world championship at some point. Even if it was just the two of them. I mean, what a race and what a season we would have if that was the case. But in terms of the deals, good deals by both Ferrari and Red Bull. Now, obviously, we have some new drivers, but we also have new cars coming for the new season. The car launches. Now, I've got a few written down just to name some. I know Ferrari at this point is the first car that's going to be launched. I think it's the 11th. I say I've got them all written down. I haven't actually got the Ferrari one written down, but I'm pretty sure it's the 11th. We've got Renault's car being launched on the 12th. Mercedes is being launched on the 14th at Silverstone, which is 30 days before the season opens in Australia. AlphaTauri, which is now Toro Rosso, that launches on the same day as Mercedes, which is the 14th of February. McLaren's is on the 11th, so I'm looking forward to that as well. It's looking really good. I'm normally excited for the car launches. I like to see what the liveries are for each season, but this season the most. Normally I sort of miss F1 in the winter. But then you're like, well, it comes around quite quickly. This year, I'm sort of already waiting. Whether that's because I'm enjoying putting videos out, I'm not sure. But I really am looking forward to seeing the cars, seeing them out in testing and watching that, and then obviously having the season opener in Melbourne in Australia. So a lot of good stuff happening, and I'm really looking forward to it. There seems to be news rolling out every day, which is good for an F1 fan like me to keep seeing news stories popping up. I'm really looking forward to it, and obviously when the cars do get launched, I will obviously have my opinion on what they look like, and then obviously when testing comes around, what I think and which teams do I think are going to progress well, just looking at them in testing. Like I said, I think first week of winter testing doesn't really say a lot because they're literally just getting the cars out on track and getting data for the second week. So the second week of testing, winter testing, is always the most important, and that's what you're looking at in terms of what the car's going to be like in Melbourne. The first week, not so much. The second week is actually quite important to see. So I'm just going to go a few more news headlines. Nicholas Latifi, new driver for Williams this season alongside George Russell. He's picked his number for his first F1 season. He will race with the number 6 on his car. Returnee Esteban Ocon will use 31, which I think is the same one he used when he was at Force India Racing Point. And that will be for the Renault team again this year alongside Daniel Ricciardo. We've also got news of Managing Director of Commercial Operations Sean Bratches will step down from the role at the end of January, which is big news actually because he was one of the people that sort of brought F1 sort of into this social media sort of spotlight. He's done a lot since he's come in, and I think there was a lot of worry when Bernie Ecclestone left the sport, and we obviously had this Liberty Media take over Formula One, so people were worried. But in my opinion, I think they've done tremendous stuff. Like I said, social media has been vital in these last few years, and they've really upped their game in terms of that. Putting YouTube videos out, putting sort of Instagram, Twitter, everything. F1 has sort of become this global sport, in social media and not just on the track. And I think I love that. I love watching the best team radio and things like that. I think they've done a great job with that. They've also had obviously the Netflix documentary, esports. A lot of fan interactions, including going to like London Live, and they had one in LA last year at the end of the season. So I think they've done a great job, and Chase Carey's obviously said Sean's transferred the commercial side of F1, and he'll always be part of the family. And I think he has done a great job. So in terms of Sean Bratches, he leaves at the end of the month in January, and sort of wish him well because he's done a lot for the sport so far. And in terms of that, third year in a row, F1 audience figures have grown again, showing what Liberty Media have done. Highest. Top 5 highest audiences in the world for F1 are Brazil, Germany, Italy, the UK, and the Netherlands. So it obviously shows where the main people are that watch the sport. But it's good to see. I like seeing the figures. I like seeing the F1's improving. You know, I've obviously been a fan from a young age, but to see like new fans coming in and watching the sport, especially people from like America who are used to seeing other types of motorsport. I think the USA Grand Prix, you know, the figures for people coming to the event are growing. So again, it's good to see. In terms of, I was talking about the Netflix documentary, season 2 of F1 Drive to Survive has been announced. That's coming out on the 28th of February, so that's good. Just after winter testing, we get to watch the documentary, and then it's not long until the season opener in Melbourne. And that'll obviously be a look back of last season, the 2019 season, where Lewis Hamilton, you know, won his 6th world title, and obviously seeing what was just announced as best race of the decade, which was the German Grand Prix last season. Now, I would have said maybe that was second on the list. I did say that was the best race of the season in one of my last videos, but it wasn't race of the decade in my opinion. That was Canada 2011. I mean, for me, that's an obvious one. That one, the German Grand Prix last year was great, but you can't beat Canada 2011. Maybe that's because my Jensen Button bias, but that was a great race. I absolutely loved that. So, yeah, in terms of the Drive to Survive, that's out on the 28th of February. We've also got talk of a Miami Grand Prix. Now, this has been talked about for about a year now. I'd say actually even more. Now, there seems to be a bit more progress of it. I have to say, if there is a Miami Grand Prix, I love going to Florida. I went last season. I went last year. So, if there's any chance of there being a Miami Grand Prix, I would definitely love to go to that. I think that would be amazing. You know, obviously talk about it. There's been lots of talk. Sort of an agreement in principle to have it, even maybe next season, the 2021 season. You know, there's been a few changes. Obviously, talk with the local council or the local area, the local state in Florida. About what they want to do, and there was talk of having no racing before 3 p.m. on a Friday because of all the disruption to local areas. So that would be interesting to see, because that doesn't normally happen. They obviously want to race around the Miami Dolphins Stadium. I think that would be great, as long as I have seen the sort of the track layout, and there is a lot of straight. So I'm hoping it's not going to be like, I don't know, not much happening. They're going to be, well, I suppose there'll be huge DRS zones, but do you know what I mean? I just hope there's a bit of action in it. It's not just we're going there to Miami just to race around Miami. They actually need to build a good race circuit if they're going to have a race there, because otherwise it's pointless. They might as well just do like a live event there. But if it does get the green light, it would see F1 return to Florida for the first time since the 1959 US Grand Prix. So that would be something in itself. But like I said, this is what's happening. You know, for the last, when we had Bernie Ecclestone, it was the same tracks, the same thing going on every year. You know, we've got 2 new races this year: the Vietnam Grand Prix and the Netherlands Grand Prix. So, and that, I think both of them are quite early on into the season as well. So yeah, I mean, if it does happen, it's really good for the sport. And like I said, if it does happen and there is a Miami sort of Grand Prix, I would love to go to that. That would be amazing. But yeah, there's just a few things. I didn't want to make this a long video, but yeah, there's just a few things and my points on a few things that's happened in the last month or so. Yeah, I very much enjoyed going through this video. If you do like these videos, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I will be doing more of these videos as the season sort of starts. Like I said, we've got car launches, winter testing, the season starting in March. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I can't wait to do the podcast reviews of races. So yeah, like I said, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.